would discuss about what is quality. So we are done with production planning, production control. We learned the PPC function. Then we had some bits on routing and scheduling. Now we'll go on to the next one, which is quality. So quality is something which cannot be compromised by any firm. If they overlook the fact of quality, then their customers aren't happy with the product, they might go to their competitors' products. So a company or a manufacturing firm can never afford to compromise on quality. All right. Customer retention, increase in sales, all those are the very much required objectives so that they can survive in the market. The time you uh, overlook or you try to compromise on quality, all of them is lost. Okay, so it is very difficult for a manufacturing firm to survive. Now, what is quality? So all the characteristics of any product, be it your raw material, your in progress inventory, or even your finished goods, we call it as quality. So all the inbuilt or external characteristics or attributes. Now, when do we say that a product has the necessary quality or has got good quality? Whatever objectives or whatever specifications that product is supposed to meet, if that product is successful in meeting all those attributes or characteristics, we call it as quality. All right. So the degree to which a product conforms to any specification or any predetermined characteristic, we call it as quality. Okay. Now, the thing about quality with respect to manufacturing firms in general is that these attributes normally refer to things like length, width, breadth, or height. Okay. Color, size, everything. Okay. But all of these attributes have to be quantitatively measured, right? See, we can't measure something like value, okay, but we can't quantify it. We can't say that so much of value, no. So we have to find things which are quantifiable in terms of length or size. You can give it as 5 centimeters, 6 centimeters, right? Here you're quantifying it. So those should be the type of attributes which is considered here. Any product which meets attributes which are quantifiable in nature as per what is said earlier or what is being specified, we call it as quality. Now, quality can be seen in the form of four things, especially with regard to a manufacturing firm. First one is quality of material. Your raw material, your in progress inventory, and your finished goods inventory, all of them should meet the quality standards. Right from start, raw material, if your raw material quality is very good, then your quality of the end product would also be good. But the minute you compromise on the raw material quality, then your end product also gets affected. So it is very important to check what sort of material with respect to raw material or anything of that sort, how exactly is quality maintained. Whatever specifications you're giving to your supplier, is he meeting those and giving you the same products as per your specification, as per the quality standard? Then we can say that there's a proper quality of material. Then quality of manpower, whether the people in your factory, whether they are efficient enough, they are able to meet the targets, okay, whether they are spending good time in production, whether they are not sitting idle, all those come under quality of manpower. And also about the skill factor, whether like say a person who works in the firm for 5 years is specialized in that task rather than a fresher who is joining in that year, right? So that quality of manpower has to be maintained. Quality of machine, whether this machine can be reliable, whether it's going to have a lot of breakdowns, technical issues, all those has to be avoided. So we have to check whether such quality of machines are also being maintained. Quality of management, what exactly is the quality of management in times of emergencies or different issues with the market? How well has the management responded to it, and how well they have implemented a policy? Suppose there's a change in the demand, there is or change such as lockdown, okay, so there's a lockdown here, and we have to supply extra essential goods, okay, the management can take an initiative to extend the production, so those can be given to the families, right? So if there is any change in the market situation, any change in the economy at large, the management should be one which offers quality in terms of imbibing the change and implementing it. They should be dynamic enough. So the way that the efficiency in which they work and their growth factor in the market scenario, everything is throwing some light on quality of management. I hope the points are clear. Okay, so where all can you ensure quality? Control of engineering quality. Engineering and the technical staff of the factory, they work on the standards to be maintained. If the company comes out with their own standard, okay, our final product should have so and so standard. Okay, so engineering can works on those standards, but again you have to ensure that engineering department within itself should have a quality standard. They should use designs for the product which meet the market quality standards. Okay, they need to understand what does the customer need. Based on that, they have to make the product. So all that is very important with respect to the engineering point of view. Second, purchase material quality. Just like how I explained, you need to select from a supplier who gives you good quality products. Right from the time you place the order and you get the order, we do inspection and testing, right? We check what are the quality standards. Those which meet the quality standards have to be stocked in your stores. The rest have to be returned to the supplier, and you should ask for the quality based product. All right. And quality control of manufacturing quality. How efficiently each product, in the manufacturing process is exhibiting some sort of quality standards. We can set up different inspection points on that entire production cycle along those machines. Some points which are there only for inspection. You can check what is the quality standard, whether it is being maintained in that particular product. Okay, then action supporting product after delivery. So once you deliver the product, we need to be in close touch with the customers, so we can ask them whether the quality standard is right, whether it is, all the specifications is met. You can again reanalyze the market. So these are the ways in which you have to ensure that quality is being maintained. Now, what is quality control? Those are the different techniques or tools, whatever you call it, which ensures that quality is being maintained in the organization. Okay, if you talk with respect to a finished product, we need to understand that the quality is found in the quality standard is met by the product with the minimum cost. Like I told you, all this subject is all about maintaining and reducing that cost. Okay, so here again, if the goods don't come out right and you try selling them and customers are not happy, they return it back or whatever be the case, it adds up on your cost. So you have to see to it quality control happens with this regard. Second is, we have a lot of inspection activities which happen by different inspection people. They check the product whether everything is there. Your inspection involves cost because there are a set of people who are working on this. They are using their time. Yes, you're paying them extra salary or you're paying them wages. So all this would add on to your cost. Those who are employed in the quality control department. So it is very crucial to understand we have to check the products for the required quality, but keep this minimized cost concept in the head. So what did Bethel, Atwater and Stackman say about quality control? It refers to the systematic control of those variables encountered in a manufacturing process which affect the excellence of the end product. So like I mentioned, the quality of your raw material, your machines, your people, everything has a very keen impact on the quality of the end product. If you go wrong anywhere in between, then your end product quality will also be affected. So any form of systematic control, we have a proper system under this over the any one or two aspects of manufacturing process, we call it as quality control. There are two main objectives of quality control. The first one is that, say I tell that my mouse The if I'm a mouse manufacturing firm, it should be in black color. Okay, it should have such type of material, this and that. I give my specifications. Quality control has to check whether those specifications are right for the product. Okay, if I put in wrong specification, maybe this product will not come out right. Okay, so I have to check whether those specifications are proper. That is one thing. Second, by using those specifications, when I make the product, I have to see whether the product is right as per the specification. So first you have to see whether the specifications are good for this type of product, and then once the product is made, you have to check whether the end product meets all those specifications. These are the key objectives of quality control. I hope it is very clear. All right. Now, there are three main functions of quality control. We have acceptance function, wherein this is all with a bit respect to your end product. Okay, so acceptance is where once you get all the products, when you inspect the products, you feel that some are not good. You take maybe a sample. Okay, we'll talk about sampling technique later, but you take a portion from the entire stock. You see whether it has maintained the standard. If not, you reject it. Otherwise, you accept it. So this accept or reject function of any uh, any output or any unit which you use for inspection or testing, when you find out it has not met the standards, we reject it. If it has met the standard, we accept it. So this is your acceptance function. Preventive function, here it emphasizes that it is very important to identify what are the defects. If I, as say the inspector, when I find out that okay, these products have so and so defects, okay, and then I do the necessary changes, I accept, reject and everything. Tomorrow again, when the next batch of finished product comes in, I have a previous knowledge of what all types of defects are there. So before any processing, I'll ensure that even before, see, today I get my finished goods. Let me make it clear. Today I get my finished goods. I find, okay, these are the 5 defects which are found. Tomorrow before the production starts, I ensure that these defects do not repeat. Okay, so this is taken as a preventive function, so that I don't have to do the same task which I did yesterday. I don't have to do it for today's finished goods. Rather, today itself, somewhere early before the production starts, I can see to it that I should place some controls so that those defects don't repeat themselves. Yeah. Then assurance function. Assurance is very important, like how I mentioned previously in the previous slide towards the end. Assurance that your specified objects are right. Okay, and assurance that your product is meeting all those specifications would keep the company happy, employee happy, and also the customers happy. So these are three main functions of quality control. Now we would learn about some quality control techniques. These are very important. See, I'll list them down for you. These are the techniques. We have SQC, under which process control and acceptance sampling happens. Inspection, just-in-time, quality at source, control charts, TQM, ISO, quality circles. But we need some time to understand what is SQC. It is very important. And under SQC, you see 2 headings, right? Out of which process control is important, but acceptance sampling is more or less repeated in almost all your question papers. Okay, so it has to be studied with much regard. That is why I have gone for an extended explanation in the next slide. Please be very attentive. You don't understand even one tiny point, reach back. Okay, and once I clarify your doubt, you can tell it to your friends or to your class, because no one should be having a doubt about this. The concept involves a bit of statistics as well. We won't be directly working on the numericals, but again, you have to understand. Okay, you don't understand, I'll have to simplify it further. So let me know whether you need simplification. It's okay to own up. You can just tell me what is it all about. Yeah. Okay. Now, statistical quality control. This simply means you use statistical tools or scientific experiments in order to understand what is the variation in quality. Okay. Say I have a raw material such as wood pulp. If I'm a paper making industry, I have wood pulp to make paper. All right. Now I took 1 unit of wood pulp. I compared with another. I find that there's a change in the variation in the quality. I find a change. There's a variation in the quality of the first sample with the next sample. Okay. In order to understand this variation, I am going to use statistical tools. This is what your statistical quality control is. Here you try to judge what is the variation between different raw materials or different components based by using statistical tools or scientific experiments. Science is given prominence here. Alright. So this is based on the theory of probability, which we have all learned in school. This is where just to refresh, this is where you stress upon the chance that one element, say there is a population of 10 elements. What is the chance of, or let's give it in a, like how we used to learn. There is a bag with 5 red balls and 4 blue balls. Okay. What is the probability of getting a red ball out of the entire bag? When you blindfold and take a ball, what is the chance of getting a red ball, or what is the chance of getting a blue ball? So here what it means to say is we have a population, the red ball and blue ball. Okay, just remember that is your probability theory. We have a population of say 10 different things. Okay, I am going to take a sample from this population and see whether the sample is good or not. When I find that the sample is good, I feel that okay, the rest, okay, from 10 units, I take 2 units, I test these 2 samples. I feel that both are of very good quality. Then I assume that the entire, that is the rest of the 8 units and these units together has good quality. Okay. If I find out that out of those 2 units, any one or both of them is not showing good quality, then I assume that the rest of them, some of them have defects, some don't have defects. That can be the case also. So here you try to understand what is the characteristic of the population by testing a sample. We take few samples from it, we test it, we see whether they meet the quality standard, we accept it. We feel that they don't meet the quality standard, we reject it. If we accept it, we feel that the rest of the units are of good quality. If we reject it, we feel the rest are defective in nature. Is it clear to you? Okay. So SQC is where you apply statistical tools for 2 main things. Okay. Once you get your finished product, you can test for the quality. You can use statistical tools to test the quality. Whichever meets the standard, you can accept them. Whichever does not meet, you can reject them. All right. That thing is called as acceptance sampling. So like, let me explain it further. SQC has 2 main dimensions. First is acceptance sampling. Second one is process control. Okay. So acceptance sampling is where you test the final product, see which all meets the quality standards, you accept them. The ones which do not meet, you reject them. Okay. So just before that, you see the bold version of the definition which says application of statistical techniques to accept or reject products which is already produced, which is your finished goods, or you can control the process. First one gave importance to the product. The next one, which is process control, gives importance to the process which is following. We need to understand whether the right process is being used. If you are not using the right process, maybe quality would be compromised. Okay. So here we have to understand that there are 2 main parts to this definition as such, wherein you apply scientific and statistical tools to understand whether to accept or reject from the lot of finished goods, or should we monitor or control the process so that quality is not being tampered with. All right. So from this we can understand that we have 2 dimensions. First is acceptance sampling, which says that you need to test a sample from existing goods. So you need to take a finished goods inventory, take 2 or 3 samples, see whether they meet the quality requirement. If they do not meet it, reject the sample. If they meet it, accept the sample. Okay. Process controlling is where you try to check the output, but through a process. You don't take the finished goods. You check whether the process is conforming to the quality standards, whether this method or this process would help in getting a quality product. Here focus is given on the process, but in acceptance sampling we are giving it upon finished goods. Okay. Now, if suppose in the process control, we have a prescribed range. We have a range of say 50 to 100 units, for example. We want that quality to fall between 50 to 100. Okay. If it goes beyond, we'll have to change the process. Okay. So we fix a range for them, a predetermined range for them. The process should maintain the quality standard between the limit of 50 to 100. If it goes beyond, we have to change or adjust the process. Is it clear to you? Process control compared to acceptance sampling is given lesser importance. So this is what you need to know about process control. Let's talk about acceptance sampling. This is where you have to really listen. All right. Okay. Now, acceptance sampling, like I mentioned, we take a sample from the population. So if our population is 100 units, remember this, if our entire stock is 100 units and I'm taking a sample of say 20 units from those 100 units, that is my sample. The rest is my population. All right. So in acceptance sampling, you can use two types of curves. Yes, but let's call it two dimensions. First is average outgoing quality curves. Okay, so be clear with the 100 units and the 20 units concept. All right. So we need to see that whatever goods are leaving from the organization, they meet the quality standards. Who gets the product end of the day? The customer gets it, right? And in order to retain those customers, we have to provide goods which has no defect or less defect. All right, that concept is clear. Yes. So what you can do is, for this sort of quality control and with this objective of getting the customers right, what you need to do is you need to check whether say 100 units are being produced today. Out of these 100 units, how many are in defective, how many are defective pieces, and how many are not defective? Is it clear to you? Yes. You have to see which all to accept, which all to reject. That's the main concept. But one point you have to understand is, if the defects are more, if you find a lot of defects, for example, from the 100 units, I take a sample of 20, first 20, I check the sample, I find that all 20 of them are defective. So what do? I reject the 20 samples and I get a fresh set of another 20 units and add it to the population. Yes. Then that 20 is done, I have replaced it. Then I go for the next 20. Then I search, I find that there are more defected goods in it. I change those and get the new batch. So as my defects, as and when I note more defects in the final product, I start replacing them. And towards the end, when I find that most of them are defective, I'll have to replace every bad one with a good one, right? So starting there were many defectives, but towards the end, when I'm cross-checking with each sample, then I find out that even though defects are increasing, it helped me maintain a good stock because I've replaced every bad good with a good with a good output. All right. So when it finally goes to the customer, they get goods which are less defective or where there's no defect. Is it clear to you? Yes. So average outgoing quality curve is a curve which says that if the number of defectives increase, as per acceptance thing, like if they meet the quality standard, we accept. If they don't meet, we reject. But once we reject those defective pieces, we replace them with the good ones. So as and when you find more and more defectives, you start taking a lot of you make a lot of replacement. Finally you end with a stock which has good products. So that is where we say that there is average outgoing quality curve. All right. The next one is operating character. So I hope it is clear. If you want, we'll just read it out. To assure that the average quality level or percentage of defects reaching the customer does not exceed a certain limit, If the number of defectives increase, the acceptance plan begins to reject the lot, and when multiple lots are rejected, they move up to 100% inspection and defective units are replaced. So here maybe one point which we missed out is we need to set a level as to how much of defectives should be there within the sample. Okay, but still when your defectives either they are within this limit or they go beyond the limit, we have to check whether each of those defective goods are removed off and new ones are kept in place. When it finally reaches the customer, he is happy, he or she is happy because they get the non-defective goods. Is it clear to you? Yes. So we understood how to replace the good lot or the good units with the how to replace the bad lot with the good lot. Now the next one is I hope you understood. If not, please reach out. The next one is operating characteristic curves. Okay, OC curves, very important again. Here we come across 4 conditions. Listen to me very carefully. 4 conditions: we accept good lot, we reject bad lots, we accept bad lots, we reject good lots. LOTS, okay, lots. So we accept good lots, okay, feasible. We reject bad lots, fine, we are rejecting them. But we accept the bad lot and we reject the good lot. You understand what we are saying? Here it says, from my previous example, there are 100 units, 20 of them do not meet the standard. So I take 100 units, I take the first sample 20. First sample 20. I test them. I find out that the 20 units are defective. Okay. Without going for further checking, I declare that all the products are defective. Let's reject everything, even the sample and the population. Yes, thinking that every product has a defect, even though I've taken a sample, I found some defects in it, I declare the entire population to be rejected. But the thing is, maybe the entire population was good or they had less defects, but I didn't bother about it. I rejected the good lot. This is what you mean by you reject the good lot. Okay, when you reject the good lot, we call it as producer's risk or alpha. It's given in the simple, which is also called as type 1 error. When you reject the good lot based on your sample, testing of your sample, we call it as producer's risk. It is risky for me as a producer because just because few were defective, I've rejected the entire sample, right? Then the next one, we accept the bad lot. Okay, we take a sum from 100 units, we take a sample of 20 units. We tested, we find okay, they are good. Then we feel let's not check the rest also. Let the others be like that. The sample is good, so the entire population or the entire set of units is very good. Okay. Maybe there were a lot of defects in the other parts of the rather than the sample, whatever was left with the rest of the units called the population, whatever was there in the population might be having defects. I have ignored it. When my sample turned out right, I said I'll accept the entire thing and I put it for sale. I say that the quality check is done. But you never know, maybe there are some defects within that. So we have accepted the bad lot. Now is it clear to you? Yes. So when you when you accept the bad lot, we call it the consumer's risk. Why is it called consumer's risk? The minute when I test the sample, I find those are good, so I assume that the rest are good, but the truth may be that there are more defects in those other goods. I give it to the customer might land with the defective good. That is a risk which I face because my customers won't be happy and they won't feel like purchasing again. So this is called as type 2 error or consumer's risk. We put it with the Greek symbol as beta. Okay. So here what you need to know is this could have a very strong effect. Yes, both the risk do happen. That is why we are learning about this. What can be done, all right, to counter it in a way? So first is, suppose we take a very good lot, By good lot, we have set them a standard. The standard is called acceptable quality level, wherein we say that in one entire good lot is the total set of finished goods. If you get confused, okay, total set of finished goods is called to be good if it has less than 1% defective products. So in a set of 100 units, if I find only 1% of defective items, I can call it as a good lot. So I have set a limit called acceptable quality level of less than 1%. Is it clear to you? So if I'm considering the lot to a lot can be a set of finished products can be called as a good lot only if it has a defective level of 1% and below 1%, I call it as a good lot. So there is a probability that I am going to accept this good lot. That probability can be measured up to 95%. So 95% I'm sure. See, you need to get the point very clear. If the lot is meeting the criteria that only less than 1% of goods found in 100 units should be defective, the 100 units thing can be called as a good lot. If such a thing is found out, if we find out that there is only less than 1% defective products out of 100 units, I take 100 units to be a good lot, which means the probability of accepting these 100 units as a good quality check, it is almost close to 95%. Okay, and the fact that I might have to reject this good lot because of that 1%, that is called as producer's risk. That is when I reject the good lot. Is it clear to you? Yes? Now, okay, I hope it is clear. Now, the bad lot is, so this limit is done. Producer's risk is taken care of. There's 95% probability of accepting the thing, and there's 5% of rejecting it. Rejecting good lot is called as type 1 error or producer's error. Okay. Now, if I take a bad lot, that is, when do I declare a lot is bad? When there are defectives 5% or more than 5%. Okay, that limit is called as LTPD, which is lot tolerance percent defective. Okay, so when I find that a particular lot has 5% or more defects, I declare it as a bad lot. Okay, now when I say it is a bad lot, the probability of accepting this bad lot is less, because I understood it's a bad lot, cannot be sold. But if I accept the lot, if I accept the bad lot, that would be close to 10%. And if suppose I reject because it is a bad lot, it is 90%. Is it clear to you? When I accept it, you need, okay, I'll repeat the thing again. When do I call a lot good lot? Wherein I have set a standard AQL to be 1% or less than 1%. So if I find defective goods only up to less than 1%, then I say it is a very good lot. If it is a good lot, my chance of accepting that lot as good is 95, and 5% I consider as producer's risk. Suppose I change my mind and I reject the good lot, maybe because of that 1% defect. I want everything to be pure, so that is why I reject it. The next case is when I take a lot to be bad. When is a lot bad? When I have set up a standard called LTPD, which says 5% or more defective goods in one particular in 100 units. If you find 5% or more defective products, that is considered to be a bad lot. Now, the chances of accepting that bad lot is 10%, but the chances of rejecting the bad lot is 90%. If you get confused, just read through again. You still don't get it, let me know. Okay, these are certain statistical things, so it can be a bit hard for some people to understand. It is okay, but you have to clearly understand it. Yeah, so you can ask me again. Now, what are the different types of acceptance sampling plans? The first one is a single sampling plan, which means you take only one sample. From 100 units, you take only 20 units as sample. Just this, you check it meets the criteria. Okay, fine, we take the entire population. If it does not maintain the criteria, we reject the entire lot. That is your single sampling plan. Double sampling plan is I compare two samples. I take one sample of 20 units. So which means from 100 if I take 20, 80 is remaining. Again from the 80 units I take another 20. Then I compare these two samples. That is called as double sampling plan. Wherein I'm not satisfied with the testing of one sample, I take another sample to get a second opinion. Yeah, when you are really not well and you are going to this doctor, he recommends surgery, then you'll have to your parents might feel okay, maybe it is a tiny thing. Like this happens with people who have tonsillitis. There are some doctors who say go for surgery. Then your family might feel like, okay, let's go for a second opinion. Let's go for a second sort of advice. So the same thing. When one sample is not giving you a proper satisfaction about the testing part of it, we go for another sample. Multiple sampling, you increase the number of samples. You don't rely on 20 and 20, you go for 20, 20, 30, 40, you go for a lot of samples. Okay, and then sequential sampling plan. Sequential sampling plan is where we do check about the sampling part of it, but from 100 units you test the first sample 20, you find okay, some of them can be accepted, some are defective, you keep the defective ones aside, you keep the accepted ones aside, defective aside, you take the next sample, acceptance, defective, next one, and you go on till the entire 100 units is complete. That is called as sequential sampling plan, wherein you test each and every sample of that entire population. Okay, then continuous multi-level sampling is a method which you use for the process control. That is, you understand that it is very important to have certain inspection points. Suppose my process happens from this point to this point. Okay, from this point to this point. In between, I'll keep inspection points so that when my raw material goes for processing from the first machine to the second machine, if I keep an inspection point over in between those two machines, I find out okay, first machine has made the right product, let it go for the second one. Then I find out okay, the first machine has not processed it properly, there is a defect, I remove it and let the production continue. So these are the 5 different samplings which form a very crucial thing about acceptance sampling. Please, this point is very important. It is a bit confusing also, but see to it that you have a clarity on this. All right. Thank you.